And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, the Republican showdown in South Carolina is just 3 days away, and brand new poll numbers show that Donald Trump is surging. We have a new Monmouth University poll right out of the Palmetto State. It shows Trump on top with 35%, Ted Cruz in second with 19%, and Marco Rubio is in third place at 17%. Then John Kasich, Jeb Bush, and Ben Carson follow. We have a new CNN ORC South Carolina poll. Trump is up by double digits, 38%. Cruz in second with 22%. Rubio's third in that poll, 14%, followed by Bush, Carson, and Kasich. Also, a new Quinnipiac national poll. Now, this has Trump with a big lead at 39%, Rubio in second with 19%, Ted Cruz in third at 18%. We also have an outlier national poll that was just released tonight. According to NBC News, Wall Street Journal, Cruz leads in that poll 28%, and Trump in second with 26%. Joining us with reaction, Fox News contributors, the editor-in-chief of LifeZet.com, Laura Ingraham, Fox News senior correspondent, Geraldo Rivera. Laura, you and I have been far more open in terms of insurging candidates than I think a lot of other conservatives out there. If you look at those poll numbers, national, South Carolina, Nevada, I would say it's a pretty good bet at this point that Donald Trump can win this whole thing, which I think would shake up the entire Republican Party.
I think the establishment of the GOP and all of the discontented folks from the conservative media establishment, they have to start moving through their stages of grief, Sean. They have to move to now, they were at anger, disappointment, and now they have to go to acceptance and even
in denial still,
willingness to compromise.
Aren't they still in the denial stage, though?
Yeah, well, I think, aren't you getting the sense that this is just like the last gasp for some of these people? So Lindsey Graham was out there today saying that Donald Trump is unfit for office. This is coming from the Bush supporters who have been supposedly claiming that they want to have a substantive argument about all these issues, yet every time Trump gets up in the polls, it's just personal attacks on Donald Trump. And look, he can dish it out, so he can take it. I have no doubt about that. But you can't just keep saying, well, he's unfit for office. Apparently 38% of the public doesn't think that's the case, and 38% of Republicans, independents, maybe some disaffected Democrats. So at some point, are the establishment folks going to come to this realization that maybe it's the policies
here's the question
they've been pushing forward that are unpopular?
Every time I interview Donald Trump, I go through issue after issue after issue, right down the list, and I ask him, what are you going to do on health care? He likes health care savings accounts. He told me yesterday he likes the penny plan to balance the budget. We know what he's going to do with the wall. We know he'd take the oil with ISIS. What do you say? Because they keep trying to say he's not a conservative, but it's not working. Is it because of his answers, or is it because why?
Well, I mean, I think the answer to that is, okay, we had supposed conservatives who said they were going to have a humble foreign policy, and there was anything but. We had conservatives that ran up the deficit and the debt. We had conservatives that left open borders, and we had conservatives that presided over trade policy that allowed China to build the second biggest growing military force in the world. So if all of that was conservative, then I think we have to move the goalposts on what exactly the conservative movement means. So, Trump on his website has a lot more specifics, I think, than he's probably all that comfortable with reciting in interviews. And I want him to be more specific all the time. So I agree with that, that criticism. I think it's a fine one. But all these people are saying, well, he's not conservative. Well, tell me who in Congress, other than maybe Jeff Sessions and on some fiscal issues, certainly Paul Ryan, but there are not a lot of conservatives in the U.S. Senate right now, and so that's how I'd answer it.
What do you make of the establishment reaction? For example, just before New Hampshire, one of the top Republican leaders in the state said, I don't see it, I don't hear it, I don't believe it's real.
I don't disagree with anything that Laura or you has said so far. I would just say that there is no real relevance to specificity anymore. I'll give you a little anecdote. I just come out of South Carolina, just got home last night. When I arrived in Charleston on Saturday, I had a black cab driver who took me downtown. I said, who are you voting for? He said, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. And I said, why? He said, I'm sick of these people. I'm sick of these people and their lies. I'm sick of these people and their fake promises. Nikki Haley, the governor, the popular governor, endorsing Marco Rubio today, irrelevant. Yeah. Relevant maybe between Rubio and Cruz, but absolutely will not
he's got
affect
Tim
Donald
Scott,
Trump at all.
Nikki Haley, and Trey Gowdy.
But
I agree with you. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because the people who are supporting Donald Trump right now in that 30-plus, almost getting close to 40% of the Republican electorate now, they aren't into this issue or that issue. There is a sentiment, a feeling, a vibe that they're getting from Donald Trump that finally they're going to have someone to shake things up. We're so sick of the status quo. It really is about the rebellion.
Tired about political correctness, another big factor, right?
That also. And look at the debate when he almost lost it. Vis-a-vis Jeb
That's like
Bush.
You and me debating.
It is like us, but
yeah.
we're in a different business.
Yeah.
So you would think that, my God, look at that lack of prudence, look at the lack of decorum. But the thing is, people love that, and they love when President Obama said Donald Trump doesn't have the right stuff. That was like the icing on the cake, Trump in a rout on Saturday.
Yeah.
One of the things that really struck me was that rally last night when he had the political judgment, which I certainly wouldn't have had, to pull those two guys up on stage that helped quell the protesters, and he allowed them to speak. Now, how many people who have been managed by consultants and managed by their donors would think, let's bring them up? They're two regular guys. You don't know what they're going to say. They could have said anything. He says, why don't you say a few words? Now, that actually showed me something very unusual about him. He's willing to trust the people's judgment, really to trust the people. So that Iraq war vet gets up, and when he said, we have no one speaking for us. You're the only one. Now, I don't know if that's fair to Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio, but it's a feeling that people get that because he's not part of the regular, class in Washington, surrounded by all the donors, that he actually can represent, as a billionaire no less, the regular aspirations of the working people.
If these polls in South Carolina hold up, well, let's just look at the next state, which is a caucus state, which is Nevada. Trump's 45, Rubio's second at 19.
There.
I mean, it would seem now
there.
that that would mean he would run 3 states in a row, assuming these polls are correct and they're big leads. Does that then create inevitability, Geraldo?
I think, and I've been saying since July, that Trump will be the nominee. One observation, one person I have not mentioned is Governor Jeb Bush. There is a kind of almost pathos to me to watch Jeb bring his mom onto the campaign trail, bring George W. Bush onto the campaign trail.
I was with him on Monday. I have some insight. It seemed to me he was having fun with his brother.
You can have fun, but my point is he is absolutely not resonating. He is a person that I thought early on would be the strongest Republican candidate. This guy can't get a free lunch anymore.
Now, and Laura, this goes to the heart of the Republican Party and the disappointment. You're a conservative that's disappointed. I'm a conservative that has been disappointed. They wouldn't use the power of the purse on Obamacare. They wouldn't defund executive amnesty. Now, I think this is a really big moment for the Republicans in general. Either they will regain some faith among those that feel betrayed, or they will capitulate again on the issue of Scalia and Obama's appointment. To me, it's 50-50. I don't know whether to trust them or not.
I think that's a good instinct, Sean. If the Republicans on Capitol Hill cave to Obama's choice for the court, then I think it's all-out revolution in the Republican Party. I just think all bets are off at that point.
I totally disagree.
And let me just finish, Geraldo.
Do you really want to have a fight about abortion now, between now and the election? Do you really want women's war on women and all that stuff back? Let Obama be forced to pick a centrist Republican for the high court.
He'll never do it.
I think he'll do it rather than avoid a fight.
Let me just analyze it.
If Hillary's the president, you know who you're going to get in the Senate vote.
Let Laura finish. Go ahead.
Let me just analyze. So I think if the Republicans confirm an Obama pick, who we know is going to be a judicial activist, there's no doubt about that, then it'll be all-out war. And at some point, Sean, I think it's incumbent upon some of these other Republicans to say, look, we didn't get everything we wanted in this presidential contest, but we have to unite the party. And maybe if it's Trump or Cruz, they're going to have to unite with Trump or Cruz. They're going to have to unite behind one of these two candidates
Laura, I have a prediction.
Realize that they tried and it didn't work.
They've urged conservatives to suck it up with McCain and with Bob Dole.
Yeah.
How many of these guys are going to pick up their toys and go home? That's my prediction, too. Now, I want to go to Geraldo on one issue here. It's been 80 years since there has been an appointment and confirmation of a Supreme Court justice in an election year. You're a Democrat, small d. You're a Republican, but
It wasn't Kennedy. Kennedy was in the election.
But here's what I want to ask you. Why not let the American people decide, considering the balance, the entire balance of the court is in play here?
I totally agree.
Why not let them decide through the election?
I disagree. There's nothing in the Constitution about waiting, but this is why I urge President Barack Obama. He now has a historic opportunity to reach out and recognize.
When is he ever?
Let me just say, it was different
please.
when Sotomayor was elevated to the court, when Kagan was elevated to the court, because they were replacing Democratic liberals. Now he's replacing Republican
Here's my question to you.
Why not? This is the opportunity for Obama to say, here is my compromise. I pick a candidate who is pro-life, who's this or that.
When has he ever done that?
Let him compromise with the High
Has he ever
Court,
had a
with someone who is indisputably qualified.
Has he ever had a Sister Soldier moment? The era of big government is over. The end of welfare is. When has he ever deviated from his radical statism?
Well,
when?
I think that he's done it by avoidance of confrontation. I'm sad that he hasn't been more of an activist, particularly in racial issues.
You see what I got to deal with, Laura? You see what I put up with?
I wish I was in the studio. I could, I could talk some sense into her all,
You'd be
though. Absolutely.
the rose between the thorns.
That's true. All right. Thank you both.